So after UFC 314, we have a lot of stories to discuss. The one about Connor having a pop group that he manages now, that's hilarious to me. But obviously you got Alexander Volkanovski. I'm going down to talk about Patricio Pitbull's lackluster performance, as well as Yair Rodriguez. Um, but I want to talk about Dominick Reyes. Man, coming into this fight, I said this in my prediction. This could be the start of the resurgence of Dominic Reyes. And man, Dominic Reyes is a talented fighter. We know who Dominic Reyes is. We know what he did. He nearly beat Jon Jones. And we're gonna go through a second. But before we do, obviously we have to talk about the Nikita Krylov fight. To me, the Nikita Krylov fight was best case scenario for Dominic Reyes. You have a guy ranked number 9, who hasn't fought in a year, still has beaten a lot of credible guys, but wasn't a heavy puncher, and he was able to find the knockout against him in the fight. And when that happened, man, like I was screaming, I lost my shit. I've never been a Dominic Reyes fan. I kind of thought he was a clown during the Jones press conferences, and then he had the performance against Jon Jones, which we're gonna talk about. Like, man, you never know what will happen in this sport. You never know what will happen. And Dominic Reyes is a is a symbol of that. Now, I'm gonna just pull this up. This is Dominic Reyes typology. I always bring up fighters' records when I'm talking about them because I don't know how many fights you guys have seen of these fighters, and it's good to get an idea of who these people are, what they have accomplished, and what they can accomplish. But you look at him as an amateur, he dominated, submitted Ronaldo Godinho, TKO Taiwan Cotton, beat Bruno Castellas by decision, submitted Ozzy Diaz. Again, Ozzy Diaz made it to the UFC. And then he KO'd Shane Raval in 9 seconds. Then he moves to his professional debut, and I'm not sure what uh, organization that is. Gets a first round TKO against Jose Rivas Jr. Then he submits Jesse Glass in the first round with the guillotine. He beats Kelly Gray by unanimous decision, knocks out Tyler Smith, uh, knocks out Marcus Joven, and around 2017 was where Dominic Reyes was being looked at as a really good prospect. Then he knocked out Jordan Powell in LFA round 1 with a head kick. Gets into the UFC. Gets a first round TKO in his first fight. Fight of the night bonus. Ran through uh, watching Christensen. Then he submits Jeremy Kimball in the first round with a rear naked choke. TKO is Jared Cannonier. Who, again, Jared Cannonier wasn't very good in the light heavyweight division. Look at what he did in the middleweight division, and he's still going. Fights OSP was one of the top contenders in light heavyweight for a decent time. Really good kickboxer. Beats him by unanimous decision at UFC 299. The biggest pay-per-view of all time, the biggest event of all time, for, all the reasons behind it. Then he fights Volkan Oezdemir on on ESPN plus 5, wins by split decision. Really close fight, but again, a win is a win. And we're gonna talk about that when we get to Jon Jones. Then he fights Chris Weidman on UFC ESPN 6. TKO's Chris Weidman brutal way. I'm pretty sure that was Chris Weidman's first fight in light heavyweight, or first or second. Weidman at heavyweight really did not go well. We all know that. And then he made it to the infamous Jon Jones fight in February of 2020. And we all know what happened here. Dominick Reyes had a really good performance against Jon Jones. He clearly won the first two rounds. And many people believe he clearly won the third round. I feel like everybody agrees Jon Jones won the last two, but in many people's eyes, Dominick Reyes beat Jon Jones on that night, including Dana White himself. Who, we know all the, Dana White has, Jon Jones has pictures of Dana White, all that stuff. Dana White even said that Dominick Reyes won this fight. And then Jon Jones leaves the light heavyweight division right after this. So we get no rematch. But then it's booked Jan Blachowicz, Dominick Reyes in September for the vacant light heavyweight belt. Jan Blachowicz on a massacre at that point, Polish power was at the all-time high. And then he gets TKO'd in the second round by Jan Blachowicz. Again, Jan Blachowicz, one of the scariest guys in my heavyweight history. I can't stress enough how incredible a run that Jan Blachowicz had up until he fought Glover Teixeira. Then he fought Yuri Prochazka, one of the greatest knockouts of all time, the spinning elbow. That knockout was on a lot of compilations that I watch still to this day. Whenever I throw on a knockout compilation, that's one of the ones that's on there. And then he gets knocked out by a power jab against Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann didn't pan out in the light heavyweight division. He's doing good in the heavyweight division. I think the heavyweight division is much better for Ryan Spann. You guys know my opinion. If you are a middle of the pack light heavyweight, move up to heavyweight. You will be a top 10 contender. And so we don't see Dominick Reyes all in 2023. Then it gets announced he's fighting Goldberg January 20th. Gets canceled. Moved it to March 30th. Gets canceled. Then he ends up fighting Dustin Jacoby in June of 2024. First round knockout with a knee, a lot of good punches, basically ran through him, and that was when he needed it. Again, Dustin Jacoby, not a top light heavyweight, not a bad light heavyweight either. Then he fights Anthony Smith. You can say whatever you want about Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith has the most submissions at light heavyweight. He has um, a bunch of records and that. He's able to TKO him in the second round. I believe he got on his back and just started wailing punches. And then when this fight with Nikita Krylov got announced for UFC 314, I liked the fight. Now, you have a guy who many people believe beat one the the greatest of all time, as most people have it. One of them. Jon Jones is on your Mount Rushmore regardless. Comes into the Nikita Krylov fight off of a two fight knockout streak. Finds the counter left. Very beautiful knockout. I started losing my shit at this knockout. And I've never been a big Dominick Reyes fan. He annoyed me in the press conferences with Jon Jones. But one of the things that I love about this sport is that you never know how a fighter will be in the next fight. You never know when it's over. Look at Tony Ferguson. He, going into the Justin Gaethje fight, was a clear number one contender. Everybody thought Tony Ferguson was gonna maul Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, we all know, is a tough fighter. But after that Gaethje fight, never the same. Went on one of the longest losing streaks in UFC, and brings all of us fans a lot of sadness every time we think about it. But like when you see a guy make it to the top like Dominick Reyes did, get that close, a matter of a round, and many people believe you won the round in question. You're that close to being the champion, that close to being one of the faces of the UFC, and the first guy to actually beat Jon Jones. I know Alexander Ghost was in the first fight, but again, it doesn't matter, who we think won. Matters who has the green box next to their name. Where does that extra integer go? Man. And for Dominick Reyes, he's older now. He took the time off he needed. And this is probably his last run. I believe he's 36. Now, we know that light heavyweights go for longer, and a lot of these guys end up getting the title in their, later years. But it got to me, man. And I said I believe that Rakic would be a good fight for Dominick Reyes. I think that Rakic is a top contender, but he has a lot of question marks with his game. He could have beat Malcolm Goliath, but that his corner kind of fucked him over in that fight. And again, I can go on and on about that fight. Obviously, Uncle Live went on to beat Pereira, became the champion. But Dominick Reyes, man, what a career! And I feel like he'll need probably three wins to get back to a title. But I mean, seeing him break down when Joe Rogan goes up to him, it got me, man. It really did. Like, this is why this sport is the greatest sport of all time. You never know when it's your time. You never know when your time is over. And for these guys, they spend their entire lives. A lot of these guys are training from childhood in judo, jujitsu, wrestling, boxing. They're doing all these things from childhood. And you, you're at that point in your career where you're on a four fight losing streak. One more, you're probably out of the UFC. And you come back, and now you're on a run. Now you're on a finishing streak. And you're showing the glimpses of the fighter that you once were. Like, it's that's why this sport is beautiful. Like, this is why no other sport, NHL, NFL, NBA, no other sport can give you that emotion. No other sport is as all in as this sport is. A matter of seconds can change a fight. A matter of seconds can change an entire career, the entire landscape of a division. And Dominick Reyes proved that. He has a lot of tough fights ahead of him. I'm always rooting for him, though. I want to see Dominick Reyes succeed. But what do you guys think? What did you guys think about Dominick Reyes knocking out Nikita Krylov? Do you view it as him knocking out like a less active contender? Or do you see it like me, where this guy is trying to rebound, this guy is giving this thing one last shot, and he's giving it his all, man, and I I can do nothing but give my respect to Dominic Reyes. So, congratulations, congratulations on the win, Dominic Reyes. I wanted to do this video before I talked about Volkanovski. I'll probably do that video tomorrow because obviously Volkanovski, one of the greatest fighters, but I mean, Dominic Reyes, ladies and gentlemen, is once again a contender in the light heavyweight division.